Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I am Terra Cactus, and this is Fallout New Vegas. Right now, we have just gotten Dexter's keycard, and we are going to go off to Dexter's room to finish off one of the side quests we have, and hopefully get things on track. Hopefully. Did I have to look up a guide for this? Yes, because trust me when I say this, these keycards were fucking hidden, man. Behind a plant, but the keycard was glitched into the plant, so I couldn't get it, so I had to drop items on the plant to shove it out. Yes, extremely hidden. My god. I love some archaic things about Fallout, but this was not one of them. This was definitely not one of them. So we gotta go back to Roland in the commoner's room. Wait a minute. That's a Gek. Dexter's room should be here. There we go.
How the old world managed to waste so many resources on vapid enterprises is beyond me. What is the point of keeping a record on all these useless topics? This isn't a library. It's a graveyard for pointless knowledge. Give me a year, and I'll sort out the 100, no, say 50 books worth keeping, while we cremate the rest and make room for a new chapter. The stupidity of these pre-war novels, in particular, are just too much for me to endure. I am still waiting for their database. What was the name of this wretched thing already? Arthur? To come up with actually valuable information.
Ish. So they planned on utilizing Arthur to try to sort through all the books. That's a little fuckered. Not gonna lie. That can kinda go bad. So we're going to return. Let's see what we can't tell dear James here. See if it'll be anything useful.
I wanted to ask, what is scratching an itch like? How would you rate it? As factual as it gets. Yes, great. So tell me, what is life like in the outside world? Can you describe it to me? The people of the old world bequeathed you with a heavy burden. This place is also part of it. I hope that what you and your fellow men will find here is something to compensate these direst misfortunes. Yes. I don't know how to put this. We lost both keys to their room. So maybe there's something in it, maybe not. I have no way to be sure. My siblings told me I was overacting when I suggested blowing up the doors to get inside. Besides, Roland has the final word when it comes to the living quarters. You can probably guess what his answer was. Oh, great. I can't wait to know what, oh dear. I don't need much time to digest this. Old world money? You wish for money? It's okay, I guess, but I mean, I don't understand. There's plenty of it outside and... Oh, never mind. Here, thank you for your good work. So, how may I help you? There is another guest I want you to investigate. Darren Andretti. On many regards, he was one of the most interesting guests we've had. But because of messy circumstances, I couldn't make a proper debrief with him. One night he became so badly drunk he began throwing insults at the books, us, and our mother. While the experience was very enriching from a vocabulary standpoint, we ultimately had to stop him before he blew up the entire bibliographies with C4. Well, he ended up being banned from this place, one of the rare times we had to resort to banishment. We feared he'd come back at us with a vengeance, so we confiscated a lot of his explosives and left him with but a few weapons. So the fact that he might reach the closest community, we offered him some valuables to somewhat compensate the prejudice. Economy, social studies, cognitive sciences, cybernetics. It barely made sense to us, but it looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. Picked books in separate shelves, rounded them up, packed them with C4. A prospector, a raider, we were never quite sure on which side he was walking. What we did realize, however, is that he is extremely eager to educate himself and learn to read and write. We were all surprised by his sudden burning passion for literature, except Helena. For some reason, she hasn't the right to disclose that information to us. For all I know, he began keeping some kind of diary during his sojourn here. He said it was good writing exercise for him. Finding it could be a start. I will give you the key. He threw it at my face instead of giving it back to Roland. He liked to take long walks throughout the whole facility, and outside as well. He also spent a lot of time with Helena. She won't tell me much. God knows I asked her to talk about him. She wouldn't answer. Patient-therapist confidentiality. And for this, you are to be commended and rewarded.
Okay, so first up, we need to go... I'm going to ask everyone about this, so first off, I'm going to go ask Helena in the clinic.
How may I help you? I will help you as much as I can, as long as you don't ask me to breach medical confidentiality. Strong character. Piper had seen many things and lived a whole lot of experiences outside. Survived the Holocaust. I don't know. He never let anyone in Piper's room before you. When I think of it, the only parallel I can draw between the two of you is a notable head wound and a tendency for vengeance. I can't tell you more about it. The rest falls under patient-therapist confidentiality. Piper had an eye patch, a bullet wound most likely. Roland may have drawn a parallel between the two of you. If you ever find a way to force Roland to tell you the truth, and this might not come easy, you might get something interesting out of this. I know that, despite his foolhardy behavior, there is nothing gratuitous in his actions. I could tell you. Roland. Yeah. How may I help you? How may I help you?
Question mark. Previous guests.
I will help. He was one of my patients. As such, there is some information I'm not allowed to tell you. He was a young man who hadn't reached his 20s yet. By his own admission, he had a restless personality, a temper that didn't go well with community life. That's why he chose to become a prospector. He couldn't read at first, but during his stay here, he worked very hard and quickly became quite literate. Almost too quickly. As a matter of fact, yes. Even out of our therapy sessions, he would often bring me books for me to read. The first times he asked was because he didn't know how to read. The next because he simply enjoyed hearing me, he said. Poetry and songbooks. It didn't matter to him that I couldn't sing. For some reason, said readings would make Roland come all the way here. Yes, I believe I still have one of those around. Well, why not? I'm enjoying reading poetry to our guests. The thought of you sends me shivery. I'm dressed in lace, sailing down a black reverie. My heart is thrown to the pebbles and the boatmen. All the time I find I'm living in that evening with that feeling of sticky love inside.
Oh, they had sex by the river.
The kick inside. That's because it's kind of visceral, I suspect. You're welcome. I can't say I had much contact with him. First time I saw him, he simply glanced over the installations, then shrugged it off. The rest of his time was spent with books and research. If I'm not mistaken, he left some of his notes in the classroom. He was an agreeable man. I remember having nice conversations with him about varieties of subjects. He was very curious about us. He was nice enough to treat me like a person, and sometimes like a lady. It's not that much the way he treated me that I found kind, but the intention behind it. On a more general observation, he seemed to want to make the best of his time here. Of course.
Okay. Next up, let's go down and talk to the computer down here. Not here. That's the theater. Not in utility. Oh. It's the door of the atrium. Systems.
A writer of great renown had it all. Friends, family, wealth. He wondered why he couldn't write anymore. He despaired. He cried. He drank. Why? He yelled, while tossing away heaps of single-worded scripts. Why can't I write anymore? It's simple, my dear, said his wife, freshly awoken. You're not suffering enough. She added, I can help you with that.
So let's see here. He had friends and family, and then I'm guessing he left his home as a prospector. His wife had died. He was suffering in some sort of internal trauma. He was drinking it away. And he was a prospector, probably from the Sloan. So he couldn't read or write, but he hadn't suffered enough because he was here. I see.
Once upon a time, a child had a music box he held very dear, though he loved nothing more than hearing the box's sweet melody. He wanted to know how its mechanisms worked. He knew that by breaking open the box, he could have a glimpse of what was inside, and perhaps even a bit comprehend how it worked. Of course, he feared he couldn't repair it afterwards, opening the box and risking to break it, or leaving it the way it was. Eventually, the child would make his choice.
Okay, so the story with Helena is that she essentially, because we've seen this a bit, where she wants to understand human emotions, and she wants to understand the mind of humans. She also wants to understand how people are as humans and what makes us tick, but she can't because she's a robot, and so for fear of going down these more extremulous psychological leads, it could mess with her own system and contradict herself.
There are two kinds of poisons. Those that don't kill you and make you stronger, and the others. He was the kind of man who praised butterflies for being gorgeous, yet crushed caterpillars out of disgust.
So he praised the end result, but would crush anyone who is new. Arthur remains silent. I'm guessing Johnson was a friend of the Master. Remains silent. Okay. So this gave us a lot to be able to see and a lot to be able to know. So essentially here, Arthur is the database that was left behind, records everything, cannot speak in his own unless he was put into, you know, a wide mannerism. Let's talk to Roland here.
Oh, here you are. Here's a plastic bag. Put it on your head. It's the latest fashion around here. Oh, sure. I knew from the first second this guy was bad news. Just like you, as a matter of fact. So I gave him a well-deserved hard time. He didn't even seem to mind that much, though. Isn't that interesting? No man with a clear conscience can put up with little old me. I remember that one time he didn't answer the door right away. I heard a very loud noise, and then a bump. The whole thing was muzzled by the door, so I couldn't quite make out what it was. Surprise visits, my man. I'd knock on the door in the middle of the night and ask him what time it was. And then when he just began answering, I'm like, it's surprise visit time! And every goddamn time, he'd open the door and let me inspect the room, and that's how I knew he was up to no good. Anybody normal wouldn't have put up with this. In the end, he didn't even answer what time it was anymore. He would just mumble, surprise visit time, bleh, and let me in. What a fool. Yeah, well, you're no saint either, my man. You tracked mud in here and you smell like shit. I mean, every bot in here has a smell sensitivity 1,000 times higher than a mere human, but they're too polite to say anything. Well, not me. Well, I just love to brag. Well, of course I've been helpful. I'm a gift from the heavens, after all.
Let's go see what's in his room, shall we? I bet there's just a Claymore Roomba in there. What the fuck? It's about your presence being gets on with its work. You're not like the others, right?
Please move along. If you have any questions, James on the first floor will be happy to answer.
Why is there a maintenance spot in my room? Making any progress? Did you find any carpets? So let's see. Here we go. What do you want? Things need to get better. It all boils down to one thing: thought finding, giving to the others. Currencies. What is that? Can't be more specific. I'm blind at the answers to some of your questions. Dysfunction, you two. I'm a terminal. Is that it? I won't do anything until you start making sense. Everything else is irrelevant, so find it, okay? We'll talk again. I don't like where that's going. However, ladies and gentlemen, it is the end of this episode. I shall see you in the next one in return. I'm Terra Cactus, and I'll see you next.